I mean, maybe some of you missed the World Economic Forum or the G20 summit or the climate summit. Maybe you have not been invited, I don't know. But doesn't really matter because the best speaker of these events we have today with us, Marc Buckley, visionist and sharing with us ideas on truth in 10.
Thank you very much, Timo. I'm going to go extremely fast, so please take out your cell phones, your smartphones, and take as many pictures as you can because I'm going to give you some free gifts in my slides. And because I'm going so fast, I would like you to go back later and kind of dive in deeper. The overview effect, or what we call sometimes the cosmic perspective, is what I want to give you. Only 500 people have seen Earth, astronauts from outer space, live. And each of them have had an effect afterwards that says it's profoundly changed their life because they saw our planet as a whole, as a ship that we're all on going together without nations, cultures, languages, or borders, that we're all in this together going in the same direction. Climate leaders like myself normally show you that in this picture for a couple of reasons. Because they want to show you the thin layer of our atmosphere and that we're a very fragile planet. But we are using this atmosphere, this very thin layer, to basically throw all our garbage into it. We're treating it like an open sewer. Every single day, we send carbon emissions or greenhouse gas emissions of 400,000 times a day. Normally the volume is a little louder and would shock you, but the amount of greenhouse gas emissions that we put into the atmosphere every single day is 400,000 times. If you were to even hear 5 times the equivalent of a Hiroshima atomic bomb, I think you would say, I think it's time for us to do something. But because we can't smell, we can't see, we don't have the effects of these greenhouse gas emissions, we kind of just ignore that. But there is an impact. An impact on climate change affects our health. Each and every one of us. Air pollution, changes in vector ecology, increasing allergens, water and food supply impacts, and many more. These numbers aren't just numbers. They're numbers that affect each and every one of us in our health and our lives. Let me give you the prime example. The Volkswagen company, right? 11 million vehicles affected or lied or on carbon emissions, on TÜV, right? Well, that number directly relates to people that died. It's not just a number. It's not just billions of dollars that they need to pay in remunerations. It's actually people, because of breathing problems, will pass away earlier in their life because of these carbon emissions. Climate change threatens your health. 250,000 deaths per year. And it's climbing. There's a book. It's called The Limits to Growth. And I'd like you to take a picture of this because I'm giving you a free digital copy of this in PDF, Kindle, Nook, and all different types of EPUB forms. This book is the Climate Change Bible, so to say, and it was published in 1972 by Donella Meadows, Dennis Meadows, Jorg Randers, and William Behrens. But it basically speaks about a number of things where they did dynamic systems thinking and modeling, where they came up that each individual, if we lived a normal, long life, we would need a specific amount of resources. And that number is 1.70 global hectares per person. But in 2017, each person on Earth is using 2.87 average global hectares per person. That is a deficit of 1.17 global hectares per person. That is something that we cannot do. It's an imbalance. On top of that, an interesting number to note is that we're losing 12 hectares of land every minute due to contaminated soil, drought, and flood. We have kind of went through and we've discovered that there are now 9 planetary boundaries that we have for a safe operating space. Johan Rockström from the Stockholm Resilience Center came up with this, and if you can see, we've already went across the border on 5 of these, where we went out of the safe operating zone and are now getting into a very dangerous aspect. This next slide shows you that there are 5 systems in our planet: the cryosphere, atmosphere, geosphere, and we basically need to be aware of these systems. These systems work in harmony, and if they're affected, just one of them gets sick or breaks down, it affects all the other ones. But they work in harmony homogenically together, so that if one has problems, the others try to compensate, but also makes them weaker. Just like our Earth has systems, our body has 11 systems, and everybody at this conference, I hope, knows about that. But it's important to get into this systems thinking, this dynamic modeling on how systems work. These systems for our body work homogenically. They work all together in harmony. There's not one system that controls all the other systems. They all work gooey, as we say, together. And this brings us to systems thinking, or dynamic modeling, which was used in the Limits to Growth book and has been used ever since to kind of mimic natural systems, to find systems, how they behave. This is a dynamic model that has to do with the fishing industry, the inputs, the outputs, the feedback loops. It's very important to realize how the systems think. These are some free systems online and that you could purchase to do your own system and dynamic modeling. Kodak is an interesting thing as far as exponential growth, and humans think linear and lateral, but they don't understand the exponential function. We're living in a world that is growing exponentially, not only population, but in climate change. 1996, Kodak was doing super, 28 billion market cap, 140,000 employees. 2012, they went bankrupt, and at the same time, April 2012, they had $1 million for Instagram, which shows that something went wrong because they developed the digital camera. This is Steve Sasson. He developed the digital camera, and he worked for Kodak, and Kodak said, how many years until this comes to market? And he said, well, maybe 7. Well, someone else beat him to it, to the digital camera, and came to the market first. And so they went bankrupt, and they actually had numerous problems. And the way that worked is through the 6 Ds of exponential framework: digitize, deceptive, disruptive, dematerialize, demonetize, and democratize. This is Peter Diamandis. The world's biggest problems are the world's biggest business opportunities. He's written several books in the Grounded Singularity University. But basically, if you want to become a millionaire, you need to help 1 million people. If you want to become a billionaire, you need to help 1 billion people. Sometimes we get confused about doom and gloom of the situation our world's in. We can see it in both ways, that the greatest health threats or the greatest opportunities are negative, or we can see the positive aspects of how we can save our planet. And here's quickly some slides that just show both sides of the picture. There are 71 markets in our world that are ripe for disruption, similar to Kodak, that are on the verge of this exponential growth and disruption. CB Insights offers these up, and here is one industry that I'm in, the food and beverage, brands of the future. These are all new, emerging, that are disrupting this industry. The healthcare industry, the education industry, the real estate industry, unicorn companies like Airbnb, Uber. Here's the hospital industry and markets that is primed for disruption. This slide is very important. It shows the imbalance in one market. It's the food and beverage production market. We have been baffled, and we've been told that the oil and gas industry is the #1 causing factor of greenhouse gas emissions and problems for climate change in our world. That is not true. It is the food and beverage industry, because this is the total environmental cost as percentage of EBITDA, which is at an imbalance in food and beverage production. We are eating our finite resources. The UN has said that most businesses don't understand the Sustainable Development Goals. Because humans see the goals as a linear path and lateral, we haven't been properly prepared on how to understand them. This is a chart of how all countries are doing with the sustainable goals, 17 of them. United States has 0 green out of 17 and comes in 43rd place. The top is Sweden and Norway at 7 and 8 in green, and at first place is Sweden. It's important to know. Imagine a world where there's no poverty, 0 hunger, and we have good health and well-being, quality education, gender equality everywhere. There is a clean water sanitation for everyone. Affordable and clean energy has helped to create decent work and economic growth. Our prosperity is fueled by investments in industry, innovation, and infrastructure, and has helped us to reduce inequalities. We live in sustainable cities and communities, and responsible consumption and production is healing our planet. Climate action has capped and warming of the planet, and we are flourishing. Life below water and abundant is diverse, and life on land. We enjoy peace and justice through strong institutions and have built long-term partnership for the goals. We look at the goals different ways, and this is my last slide. We need to look at them different. All of the goals are tied to food. Our basic needs are Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and we need to start looking at the sustainable goals this way in order to move forward. I'm out of time because I have more slides, but we'll catch you next time. Thank you very much.
Perfect. Thank you, Marc. Am I on air again? Yeah. Thank you for the presentation, Marc. Maybe we have time to catch up during lunch and to answer questions then. The audience is pretty big for questions. Maybe we have time for some questions afterwards or later.